Hi, in this video I'm going to demonstrate for you how we can take a texture and extract or create a PBR map out of it. In this example I'm going to be featuring my student's work, Jo Serrano. So what I'm going to do is, given that this cube doesn't really have super reflective materials, I mean some chocolate can be very kind of shiny sometimes, but not really reflective, more like specular. So the focus for this demonstration is on creating a roughness map, especially that I need that roughness for that cocoa powder area. The rest of the cake, I'm not gonna make it really like matte. Of course, it's going to have a range because the jam area here needs to be a lot more specular than the rest. This area here, I mean, it's kind of also open for interpretation. So this area here is going to be somewhat specular. This one here, the white area, is going to be with less specular effect and more rough than the other areas. And this is going to be here the most rough surface on this cake. So I'll show you here a render that I made to really demonstrate what I'm talking about. As you can see here, this is kind of really rough, this is somewhat rough, and this is here. I made the specular, let me show you here. The specular on this material, I made it to be blue. So along with the reddish lighting, you can detect it as something that is purple. So anything that is purple has certain value or certain amount of specularity to it. With this object here, you can see here, it's all like washed out and it has this omni-specular feel. I didn't paint the top surface, but you can see here, maybe if I turn the other way around as well, you can see even the area with the cocoa powder, it's pretty kind of shiny, as opposed to being kind of matte. So that's the goal of that PBR map that I want to create. I will add a link for my previous video that explains how we plug in the PBR materials. But in the meantime, I want to point out, first of all, something that I forgot to mention in my previous video, and I did mention it in the description, but it's important to emphasize it. Here's the main material. Here is the texture, comes out as color into the base color. Now, when it comes to the roughness map, it comes out of the alpha, and when it comes out of the alpha, it needs to be alpha is luminance. One of the comments that I appreciate that mentioned a cool clarification to know that I noticed before that sometimes alpha luminance doesn't really make a difference, but I like the clarification that the person mentioned that when you use the color, the alpha luminance is basically pointless. But the alpha is luminance is important for the alpha when we connect things through the alpha. By things, I mean maps, specifically maps that are not textured. The other thing that I want to mention is that you also want to make sure that the maps that are grayscale, such as roughness, need to always be set to raw in order for them to be an accurate representation of the data in that map. With that said, now you saw the render. What I'm going to do is, after this video, I am going to do two more videos. The first one is demonstrating in Photoshop how I extract or hand paint the roughness maps in Photoshop. And the other video that I want to make is about doing the same process, but more conveniently using Procreate. And that is going to be a lot nicer because we get to see the result on the 3D model right away, as opposed to running back and forth between Photoshop and Maya. Additionally, I want to add that the coat in Arnold can boost the effect of your specular. So anything that has roughness is going to be rough, but anything that is left out, so for instance, if you have roughness only here, then you have specular on the other areas, depending on how gray or black the pixels are. And in that case, the specular is going to kick in. But if you felt that the specular is not really doing much, and in a case like this, you cannot really turn on the reflectivity because that's going to be really weird, right? So what if you want to have a stronger specular? In this case, you might want to consider using the coat. It sort of kicks in an enhancement over the specular effect. All right, with that said, moving on to the next video.